few notes on a game that will not happen this weekend, but the weekend following that, the final game of the regular season.
2 weeks out, a game?
2 weeks out, just because there's two bits of news on this. One that you alerted me to during the commercial break. Evidently, Tez Johnson has posted on his Instagram that he is back.
He's back.
He's back, baby.
Yeah.
Is that what it says on Instagram? He just says, I'm back?
No, it's a photo of him dancing, like in uniform.
Okay.
And on one side it says he's, and on the other side, back.
Okay, that's a bit of great news.
When you see he's back, how do you say that in your head? Because that's how I say he's back.
Yeah, you got to do the back. It's got to go up and down.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the only way to do it. He's back. Nobody says it like that.
Also, like, are you better served to do the he's back, or are you better served to do the Jordan? I'm back.
I'm back.
That's it.
Just a statement, like a press release, a fax press release.
Yeah.
Here is your piece of paper, and I will be playing this weekend.
I like that better.
If you were an athlete, you would absolutely do stuff like this, right? You would post things in a way that connotes like real uplifting positivity. I'm a big deal, wouldn't you?
Yes.
If I were Tez, I'd be like, I'm taking my talents to Autzen Stadium to face the Washington Huskies in 2 weeks. That's what I would have done.
Looking forward to the puppies in 2 weeks.
Bring it on, puppies. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I think it's a glaring storyline right now for them. I know that Dillon Gabriel had 3 touchdown passes against Maryland, but the passing game was not. He threw for 183 yards. It's one of his it is his lowest yardage total of the season. And then this past week, now, it was a little bit of clarity. It was good to hear Dusty talk about this yesterday because they didn't really bring it up on the TV broadcast. But his point was being in the stadium that the winds were blowing at 20, 25 miles an hour.
You could hear it a couple times on
You could hear it. I felt like they never addressed this during the broadcast. Am I wrong on that? I mean, I was taking care of Teddy and the wife was doing something, so I was watching but also not hearing every word that they were saying. Did I miss them talk about that?
I don't recall a moment when they talked about it outside of maybe the beginning of the game, but also
he said it was a glaring thing, and the stat was that nobody scored a point going against the wind.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all of Oregon's points came in the first quarter and the fourth quarter, the 2 quarters they were going with the wind. All of Wisconsin's points came in the second quarter and third quarter, the quarters that they were going with the wind. And the times that teams were going against the wind, nobody scored a single point.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. But it's a glaring weakness right now without Tez in their passing game, and we've all been kind of wondering, when's he going to be back? And so the fact that I don't know if that means he's guaranteed to play against Washington. Is he back at practice? Now you wait and see. Having the bye week's great timing, but they desperately miss him. Give him some reps against the Huskies and then roll him out there for the Big Ten title game. That's big news for Oregon.
Yeah, that's the other part of the he's back is like, does that mean just practice, or does that mean you'll actually be playing in 2 weeks? Because that's going to be his senior day.
That will be his senior day.
That'll be his last moment at Autzen Stadium, unless they lose the Big Ten title game, which is odd. Do they do a second senior day for the playoff game?
That's a good question. I never really thought about.
You don't think about those things with this expanded playoff.
No, I don't think you do. But you kind of honor them again one more time. It used to always be that's your last home game, and now that it might not be your last home game.
Do you think that Gabriel, with the way the last couple games have gone, he's probably going to be in New York, but do you think there's a chance he wins this anymore? Because it felt like that Hunter game.
No, unless he has something crazy in the Big Ten title game and Colorado, loses to Kansas and doesn't go to unless something crazy like that happens, he doesn't have a chance.
Because I still think Cam Warren's best argument is when he doesn't play his A+ game, he plays like a B.
And he was still really good in the game that they lost.
Yeah, they lose.
Yeah.
Like, that's where Miami kind of still is if Cam Warren's not playing. So when they lose, I think it's almost an argument for Cam Ward.
Yeah, look, Gabriel's having a really good year. How
do you comp it to Bose? Just in the feel. Don't go stats. Stats
just
are
in the
probably
feel?
not that different. Yeah.
Well, it's not as perfect passing-wise. So
the tough part
is completion percentage basically the same as Bose?
No,
it's like
not anymore.
Yeah.
It dropped?
Not 10%. I think it's Bo was like 77%, I think was the record last year, and Dillon's like 73%.
Because he was at 78, 79,
first couple of weeks of the year.
Ago. Yeah.
First 3 games of the season, he went 41 of 49, 18 of 21, and 20 of 24 right out of the gate. So he was north of 80%. He was at like 84% at that point.
Yeah.
And it dipped down a little bit the last few weeks. The tough part is Bo had a better year, but Gabriel had the moment. I mean, he had the big win. He had the drive that they needed against Ohio State, and he got it done and ran in a touchdown. And
what was Bo's biggest win? I'm trying to remember this. And I don't do that out of like trying to piss you off. What was his biggest win?
I mean, it's hard because the biggest games they played were the Washington games last year, and they lost both of them.
Yeah,
I know.
it wasn't.
And the year prior.
the Ducks like getting the win.
Utah.
In any of the big ones.
Utah, when he couldn't move in his first
Yeah.
year, was a pretty big
was a
win.
cold weather
that kept them
game.
alive in the Pac-12 title race before they blew the lead against Oregon State.
Right.
How could we overlook beating Liberty 45-6 in the Fiesta Bowl? I mean, he was outstanding in that game.
I'm not even convinced half of the Duck fans at home watched that game.
God, we got so railroaded in that
That
bowl
was
game
such
selection.
a bad decision.
One of
to
the
put
best
them
teams.
in.
They were one of the only teams that had players actually playing in the bowl game. Let's give them Liberty. Great idea, bowl committee. Yeah, so that's the difference between Gabriel. Is he's got that big win under his belt where the numbers were far superior for Knicks. But on the other side of this game in 2 weeks, for those of you who watched on Friday night, Washington beat UCLA. It was a pretty ugly game, back and forth. Washington pulled away. 31-19 was the final. During this game, they benched Will Rogers on their senior night.
He was bad. He had 2 picks.
He was terrible. He kept throwing the ball to the other team, wasn't moving very well, and they put in Damon Williams, their freshman quarterback, who has been a part of their offense all year.
God, he's a stud athlete.
7 of 8, 67 yards, threw a touchdown. He ran the ball 6 times, 31 yards. Like, it felt like there was a stretch there where their offense was offensive line get obliterated, Williams catch the snap, make 2 guys miss in the backfield, and then scramble for 7 yards. Like that was their offense. And yesterday at his press conference, Jed Fish will not announce who is starting at quarterback.
It's going to be Williams. It should be. It's the last game of the year.
Do you want to put a freshman in that environment? I guess they already got bowl eligibility.
Yeah,
you got nothing
you're
to
in
lose.
a bowl game, right? So, like, if it goes so bad, let Will come in for a couple possessions. They've already been doing that anyway, balancing the two.
They've both played all year in every game.
If I'm a Husky fan, I am absolutely, one, getting ready for Oregon to unleash a little bit of hell and payback for the last 3 matchups. So I'm, like, not really concerned, I think, with the final result. But I want to see him play.
See how he can hit, because that's the thing that'll give you momentum going into next year.
I can't speak for how you felt in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I knew going into that Oregon-Washington game at Autzen that the Huskies were going to win that game. I just didn't know it'd be 70 to whatever.
Yeah, in 2016? I was there. I left at halftime.
The bright spot of that game was that, like, you get to see Herbert, and it's his first game, and you can certainly say, well, that was a good Husky team. Okay, but, like, it was kind of the start of something. It was a little bit of a reset.
That was a playoff team. That was their first playoff team, I believe, for Washington.
It was. That was a reset for Oregon of this is the next wave. This is the new guy. And he didn't have a great game. Nobody that day did. But if I'm a Husky fan, I want to see Williams, even if that means we're going to lose 49-13 or 49-10 or something. Like, I just rather thank you, Will Rogers, for your service. We have moved on to a new era.
Yeah, don't do the Portland Trailblazers thing and keep the old guy in just because he's got experience. Let's move forward. I'm not really a Husky fan, but if the Ducks were in the same position, I'd be screaming at them to start the freshman.
Start the young guy. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I imagine that's what they will do. He did look good late in that game against UCLA. And just one caveat and correction on that. Washington beat Cal that day, not Oregon. That was a win over Cal at Autzen Stadium, not Oregon.
Oh, no, we all know
so
you guys cosplaying as Cal.
It was costume. That was not costume. That was Cal. Cal came to town. They like our stadium. They wanted to play a game. We said, sure, Autzen's beautiful.
You guys dressed as
in
a
October.
Duck and Cal that year.
Come on up, Cal. You can play in our stadium. I don't know what you're talking about.